City of Vancouver, Mayor Ken Sims says he doesn't regret his decision to remove encampments in the city's downtown east side. City staff along Vancouver police officers began removing tents from east side Hastings in April, creating a tense scene in the area as those living along the street were forcefully displaced. But it's not their home. We cannot have a civilized society where we allow others to live in public places. Unfortunately, I don't agree with, of course, a lot of ways this is being managed, but in a civilized society, we can't have people living there. In a year-end one-on-one interview with City News, Sim says the decision to crack down on the encampments on East Hastings come partially due to fears that a massive propane tank stored in a tent would explode. No, that shouldn't be. That's ridiculous. Sim says he's been notified by the Vancouver Fire Rescue Services that these propane tanks were a major hazard. We have had a big public safety issue there, and we were pulling 100-pound propane tanks. If one of those we were pulling on 100-pound propane tanks. If one of those goes off, it takes out a whole city block, he said. It was a matter of when, not if. I personally would have to go to someone's family and say, I'm sorry your mom or dad didn't make it home tonight because we didn't have the courage to enforce our bylaw. This is absolutely crazy. This is one of those, like, excuses by we have a really elitist government. And this is an excuse going, think about all the millions of dollars of damage done, so then they address it. I know they're framing it here like this is, oh, what if I have to go deal with someone? Well, we have like hundreds of millions of dollars of people rotting on the streets. You cannot tell me this is because you care about people, right? You're looking at people, hundreds of millions of dollars of people rotting on the streets. And then you're saying you're worried about it blowing up and then having to go tell someone that they died. So, In April, Sim told City News that 600 propane tanks have been removed, and everyone whose encampment was removed had a place to go. Everyone that put their hand up and has taken us up on an offer to move into a shelter has received housing solutions, he said. Sim says he plans on returning for a second term as mayor in 2026, but he understands that the decision to de-encamp that section of East Hastings has rubbed people the wrong way and has steered them away from an ABC vote. If everyone in the city hated it and no one voted for me in the next election, I'm okay with that because I truly believe it was the right decision. We are avoiding a major catastrophe. Again, it's not going to be about the propane tanks there. Now, this is the excuse, and it's really weird how the BC government does this a lot, where they'll do something and they'll say the reason is one thing when it's very clearly not. It's obviously for some kind of political move to, like, enforce stuff that is morally questionable, right? It should be morally questionable. You should just be able to get rid of people living on the streets, really. Especially, too, again, since a lot of these people, they're there for their own choices. Most of them are there for their own choices. There's no reason why we need to, like, worry about threatening random people when that's really what the whole area is. Like, I don't know. This is a weird excuse. Of course, it makes sense on the books. On the books, you have to do it. And that's really what we do a lot here in BC, is we make rules and execute based on what looks good on the books, but then say our reasoning is for some moral or humanitarian reason, which really isn't true.